Wonderful people, a pleasant evening to everybody. All right, beautiful people. When I see things that, sort of rings home to me or something that I can identify with, I'm going to speak on it because one of the things that I don't really like is unfairness and injustice. If you laud and you praise injustice, indirectly or directly, covertly or overtly, subliminally or directly, it will one day follow you. Whatever seed you sow, you reap. Now, I was looking at the news and it said the civil servants are restive and they will no longer take, the restive as it relates to the government's wage offer, and they will no longer put themselves at the back burner no more. I was listening to the president of the Jamaica Civil Service Association, Mrs. Tisha Clark Griffiths, and she said that they have been in dialogue for basically far too long. And the public sector workers, teachers, and other civil servants have really worked hard, tirelessly, and to offer them a 2.5% increase over the 4-year period, like 2.5, I think 1 year, 2 point. It is similar to a wage freeze. It is ridiculous. It is not right. It is not good. I mean, I won't be able to quote all of that talk verbatim, so I have to put it in my way for you to understand what was really promulgated by Mrs. Tisha Clark Griffiths. I stand with her on that. I support that wholeheartedly. She even mentioned she was talking about, she mentioned the Prime Minister in Parliament talking about if they try to increase, and I'm putting it in layman's term for you to understand, the civil servants' salaries by more than what they offer, it may create some fiscal discombobulation, so to speak, some fiscal deficit, some fiscal issues, and there will be a hindrance, a spoke will be in the wheel. And she said no, based on the fact that the economy, and I'm quoting her, the economy is doing very well. Remember that they were passed by Fitch and Moody, these economists and so forth. This is a world acclaimed, renowned company which passed us to say that we did well. I was listening to the Prime Minister speaking on a podcast, with some people who I guess they live overseas or maybe they live in Jamaica, but the podcast was held here, I'm told. And they remember how they used to mock Jamaica and say, oh, this Jamaica is still alive, or so, like the basket case Jamaica, some joke they made, and the Prime Minister said that Jamaica is no longer a basket case, but it is now a case study to see how far and how fiscally prudent we are. So what Mrs. Tisha Clark Griffiths is saying is that with that being said, with that reality, you can offer the people 9% what the first year, 6.5, and then a higher amount, some 20 something percent, because it has to match inflation. And she's absolutely right, because it makes no sense to take 2 steps or a step forward and about 5 backwards. And again, people, I'm saying some of these words, I'm only paraphrasing and putting it in my way. She didn't say all of these words, because sometimes when people comment, they comment nonsense on my post, and it's irritating, so I'm just putting it in my way what it is that Mrs. Tisha Clark Griffiths has said. The civil servants are important people. They are significant to the growth and to the development of the economy, the country, on a macro level and on a micro level. They are needed, they're essential. It's not just a fly-by-night group, and the 30,000 people or more are restive and they will not accept the nonsense. 2.5%, it's almost like a wage freeze. Remember that 2.5% is not on a salary that is grandiose. It is not on a salary. It is not on a salary that is magnolious. It is very minute, it is very small, and it is very difficult for the people to comprehend and to contend with barely an hear the word increment, a little step forward. It is very difficult. We live in an expensive world, an expensive culture, an expensive country. It is not easy. So to come and offer the people 2.5% is like a slap in the face. It's a joke. And they will no longer tolerate that madness, that ridiculous offer. Give them the 9, then the 6.5, and then whatever higher amount. Let people be able to live. Remember, I had said that there was a politician of this present government, and it's a politician that I like, actually. You know, it's a politician that I admire. I think he's a true politician, was or is, or whatever you want to call it. And the politician had stated years before COVID had come on that anyone who is earning less than anyone who is earning at the time when he quoted the yearly figure, the monthly salary would be about $500,000 per month. And he said anyone earning less than $500,000 or $500,000, he said, barely scraping. Beautiful, wonderful people. You know, it is. So the politician mentioned that anyone earning 500,000, they're barely scraping, and he said it with such passion and fervor because it was a reality. It was a reality. They could not survive comprehensively on 500,000 per month. And there are many people who are still not even earning 400,000, much more 500,000. So if they're not earning the barely scraping by money, the 500,000, and you want to put 2.5 increment over 4 years, so 2.5 to that, one can imagine a 2.5% increase on less than 500,000 monthly, 400, 300,000. It's almost like you're putting a candy in a baby's face and pulling it away when the baby's stretching to get a bite of the candy, and you never give the baby the candy. That's torture, and that would be considered as being cruel. That cannot be good. 2.5% increase is a slap in the face of the civil servants, you know, and some of them had probably expected that this would have been done, you know, in this new fiscal year that began in March. Let us say it didn't happen in March, but even in July or August, and none of the sort. So it would be like a real slap in the face, like when somebody just spits in the face. Basically, you know, they don't want to say it as hard and as cold as that, but that's what it is. It is as though you're not worthy, you're not valuable, you're not important. You know, that is how they're going to look at it. You know, that you're taking the people as a joke, for a joke. And this kind of, you know, battle over something that is not even grandiose, and which, you know, Mrs. Tisha Clark Griffith says, based on the fact that we have been passed by, you know, Fitch and Moody, world renowned, I call them, companies. We're no longer a basket case but a case study. We don't have that high debt. Monies are coming in from left, center, right, up, down, all around. That there is enough money in the kitty to give all civil servants, public sector workers, because all are essential in different way. It's like your body parts. Let us look at ourselves. Can you imagine you without eyes, without nose, and without a mouth, all in one? You don't want to lose any. You don't want to lose your eyes. Some don't have it. You know what I mean? And they would call those who have it blessed and favored. When you have your full body parts and all of them you want, they're all equally important. You don't want to lose any. It is the same with the civil servants. They work very hard to ensure that, you know, they're like the backbone, they're like the steel in the, you know, when you're making the house, to keep the house formidable, to keep it strong. Not like a Jericho wall, because that came tumbling down. So the 2.5, 9%, then 6.5. Notice you went even down. You know, but give the people a good portion going up. I think she mentioned something then 20 something afterwards, or whatever it may be. Remember, you know, that some of the politicians got 100, 200 and 300% on higher salaries than the average Joe. Please remember that. And they are not parting the Red Sea. They're not turning water into wine. They're not raising the dead after 4 days, after 3 days. Sorry, after 4 days. I will tell you the reason why it had to be the 4th day as opposed to the 3rd. Come on, you have to do better, government, by the civil servants. Just give them the money. That should have been given many moons ago. Guys, you know what to do with TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe. Give me one of those lions.